Hey friends and Patreons, today I want to go over my recording and vocal tracking template and how to track vocals really fast and stack vocals fast. So let's get started. First, we'll need to make a new session. I always like to name the session either the song title that we're working on, if the artist knows the song title, and if they don't know it yet, sometimes I name it the same name of the instrumental with the date. So I would say Close to You, July. I like to use 32-bit float. This is nice in case you clip. Sometimes it can buy you a little more headroom. I always like to use 44.1 when I'm working on music, as this is what CD Baby and most upload clients like. So we'll create the session. Now that the session's loaded up, we'll import my tracking template. So Shift Option I, we'll do the jZilla tracking template. And then in here, highlight all of these and get your window configurations and your markers and hit OK. So now in this template, you'll see we have a track for the instrumental. We have our vocal record track. And then there's a couple folder tracks here for our lead vocals, chorus vocals, and ad-libs. Also, we have an effects already set up. So delay, width, parallel, reverb, delay throws, and a headphone mix is already set up in case we need it. And now we'll need to import the instrumental. So I always recommend importing the instrumental, Shift-Command-I, and choosing it, and do not hit add. Always hit copy, as this will copy the instrumental to the session folder. It's also not great to drag and drop the instrumental into the session, as when you send the client home with the session, the instrumental is actually just going to be linked to your drive and it's going to be missing the file. So Shift-Command-I, get the instrumental, hit copy so it copies it to the session. Hit done, OK. It's going to import this instrumental track, and I'm going to just drag it up to my instrumental here, and then I'll delete this track. Now you'll notice this instrumental is already turned down -12 dB. You never want to start recording with this at 0 because you're going to run out of headroom really fast. So I always recommend keeping the instrumental track to about -12. So now we want to find the tempo. So hit play, hit on the tap tempo button here, and just tap T. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Looks to be about 88 BPM. So now that we have our tempo, let's just drag our markers to the correct location. This will be chorus. The song starts with a chorus. And then chorus 2, verse 2. Put the end marker at the end of the song. OK, so we got our instrumental. It's turned down -12. Now we want our lead vocal to check the lead vocals. And for the lead vocal, always keep it at 0. So when they're checking their vocal, instead of turning up the vocal from here, you actually, if they want more vocals, you just turn up the headphones. So reach over, turn up the headphones until the vocal level is good, and bring down the instrumental. So when the client asks for more vocals in the headphones, instead of turning up the vocals, turn down the instrumental and turn up the master. This is going to be sure that you don't clip and you're listening really cleanly. You'll see also in this template we have a bunch of plugins being used. All these plugins are really low latency. So if I bring over the mixer, and if we look at our delay compensation, the max delay we have is 64 samples. So this is not enough to have any bad effects and latency. The other thing to check on latency is we always want to record at 128. If you have a fast computer, You can try to do 64, but I recommend always recording at 128, mixing at 512. So we make sure that our playback engine is at 128. This will remove any latency that the singers will hear. So now we're ready to track the first chorus of this song. So I'm going to take our record track here, I'm going to bring it down to the chorus area. I'm going to open up the chorus folder, and we're going to put the track in record and an input monitor. The great thing about input monitor, we can always monitor what's happening in the vocal booth, and we can always hear the singer in case they want us to rewind or do it again. So I always recommend recording an input. So now let's start recording. I'll go ahead, just hit record.
Sunshine, I can feel that sunshine.
Okay, that was a great take, but the singer wants to do it again. So we're going to mute this, and we are going to hold down Control on our keyboard, and we're going to drag it down to the chorus. When you hold down Control, you can see we cannot move it out of time. So this is always going to be in time. It's muted so they can't hear it. And now we're ready to do it again.
Sunshine, I can feel that sunshine.
Okay, that was a good take. We want to keep it. So we'll mute it, Control, drag it down, and now we'll do another take.
Sunshine, I can feel that sunshine. It's almost over now.
Okay, that was a great take. We want to keep that. So I'm going to do Control and drag it down. This time I'm not going to mute it. And now we're going to listen to it. But what's so great about this is we're going to be able to hear the vocalist while we're listening. So we're listening. And now if the singer wants to chime in, we can hear them when they talk to us, and if they ask us to do it again, this way they're not waving at us from the booth, and we can always hear them when they're in the booth. Now when they're ready to punch in, we just go to this track, delete where they want to punch in, turn on your pre-roll, hit record, and now we're punching in.
It's almost over now, and we made it through somehow.
All right, so we got our chorus. We'll take this, hold down Control, drag it down to the chorus track. Now I will just collapse the folder for the chorus. We'll leave it in there, and we'll put our lead vocals up to the lead vocal track. So now we're ready to record the verse. We'll go to the verse area. We have our pre-roll on, which will give us 2 bars. And I'm going to open up this lead vocal folder track so we can see all the lead vocals. And let's record the verse.
We made it through somehow.
Yeah, days you wake up and pray that shit go perfectly. Staying optimistic even with no certainty. Don't let the direction that the wind blows worry me. Open up, roll down the windows internally. Maybe.
Okay, that was a good take. We'll keep it, hold down Control, and drag it down to a track. And let's give them another take.
We made it through somehow.
Yeah, days you wake up and pray that shit go perfectly. Staying optimistic even with no certainty. Don't.
Okay, that was the keeper take. So we'll drag it down to an unmuted lead vocal track right here. But they want to punch in, so we'll delete the area, go to our record track, and now we're ready to punch in.
Days you wake up and pray that shit go perfectly. Staying optimistic even with no certainty. Don't let the direction that the wind blows worry me. Open up, roll down the windows internally. Maybe.
Okay, drag that down to our main kind of comp take here. And now we have the verse. So now they're ready to do some ad-libs. So I'll hide this folder track. I'll put our record track down to the ad-libs. Open up the ad-lib folder track here. And let's record some ad-libs.
We made it through somehow.
Yeah, Days you wake up and pray that shit go perfectly. Staying optimistic even with no certainty.
So that was a great double. I'll just drag it down to these ad-lib tracks and we'll do a triple.
We made it through somehow.
Yeah. Days you wake up and pray that shit go perfectly. Staying optimistic even with no certainty.
Okay, that was another great double. So we'll just control, drag it down to our other ad-lib track. So now when they listen, they're always in record. They're always hearing their main vocal through the vocal effects. And what's great about these doubles is instead of having to put a plugin on each track, they're all bused to this ad-lib track, and we can put reverb, compression, and we can affect all of the vocals without having to waste CPU and put plugins on every single track. So this allows us to take multiple takes and not have to worry about putting different plugins and auto-tune on all of these takes. Now a quick little hack that I like to use is I like to use my macros for this track stacking. So instead of control dragging the tracks down, I set up a macro that can do this for me. So let's go ahead and record.
Wind blows worry me, open up, roll down the windows internally. Maybe you'll make it big, the heat lift your mercury. Maybe you'll buy a dip on some cryptocurrency.
So now I want to move this track down and I want to hear it or I don't want to hear it. So I just hit copy move down. My macro copies it, pastes it down to this ad-lib track, and now we're ready to record again.
Wind blows worry me, open up, roll down the windows internally. Maybe you'll make it big, the heat lift your mercury. Maybe you'll buy a dip on some cryptocurrency.
Okay, now that's a triple, so I'll just cut it, move it down, and now we're ready to record the next one. So there's a couple other tricks for recording here with macros. So here's one I use that's a new playlist, creates a new playlist and starts to record. This is a really great macro, so.
Security, maybe you'll prove that you may really need that university well. Security, maybe you'll.
So now if the artist wants to keep that, just in case, and re-record, I just hit new playlist and record.
Security, maybe you'll prove that you may really need that university well.
And then they want to do another one, new playlist and record.
Security, maybe you'll prove that you may really need that university well.
And if they mess up, I just hit undo and record. This is a great macro. It's 2 key commands, Command Z for undo, numpad 3 for record, but it's so handy when the artist just wants to do it again. Undo and record.
Security, maybe you'll prove that you may really need that university well.
So now that we're doing these playlists, these work a little differently. So in Pro Tools, we can view the playlist where here's our takes, and we can solo the takes. But what I find is clients don't like you to hide their takes in a playlist. They really like to have the option to kind of see them. So that's why I really like to prefer this sort of fake playlist option where you have your main record and then here's your playlist. And in Pro Tools, when you're comping, having it laid out like this lets you listen to your comp in the pre-roll for your main take. So what I mean by that is, so here's our main verse here. The client likes the first line, but they want this second line. So I will just mute all this around this second line, unmute the track here, and now we can listen to the punch.
Wake up and pray that shit go perfectly. Staying optimistic even with no certainty. Don't.
So now we're able to kind of see the playlist, we can hear the pre-roll for the comp, and we can build a comp with mutes instead of building a comp using these playlist options like we did in here. Because when you try to comp in Pro Tools using playlists, you can never hear the full comp until you're done comping. So maybe some of the punches don't work in sync. So I hope you guys can check out this template, download it, start recording into it yourselves, and get recording really fast. Stay organized, everything's named, everything already has effects on it, so you should be able to get up and recording the client really fast. All right, hope you dig it. Peace.